Hello, this is Geometry, topic 9-3 over similar triangles. So we've talked about similar polygons in general, but today we're going to talk about triangles and what makes them special. So when polygons are similar, two criteria must be met. This is a review. The corresponding angles are congruent, and the corresponding sides are proportional. Okay, you should already know this. However, if you don't know all the measures of all the sides and angles, is there another way? There are several theorems that allow us to show that triangles are similar. The main one we're going to talk about is angle-angle. Now, if two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of another triangle, then the triangles are similar. The reason for this is because if I know that these two triangles, if these two angles are congruent, that means these two angles needs to be congruent. And because of basic trigonometry, I know that if these angles are congruent, then the sides must be proportional. That's just based off of sine, cosine, and tangent relationships. Let's go ahead and talk about example number 1. Can you prove these triangles similar by angle-angle? And if so, we need to come up with a similarity statement. Well, those are vertical angles. So I know that those are congruent. And then if I look over here, I've got some parallel lines cut by a transversal, which means that this one and this one are alternate interior angles, which are also congruent. And since I've proved that two pair of angles are congruent, the triangles must be similar. Now we need to write the statement. The statement is important because the order of the letters matter. So I'm going to say HJK for my first one. And I need to make sure that the letters match. So H had one arch. It does on the other triangle too, so we're starting with H. Now the next letter I said was J. I gave it two arches. The angle with two arches here is F. K was blank, and so is G. Okay. Now the order matters. Let's go ahead and talk about another one. SAS. Side, angle, side similarity. Now in two triangles, if a pair of corresponding angles is congruent, and the sides including the angle are proportional, then the triangles are similar. You may recognize this from a congruent statement. We've talked about SAS congruency. Well, there's also SAS similarity. So let's go ahead and apply that to our example. Can we prove these by SAS? If so, write the statement. Well, I know N and R are congruent, which means that I need to make sure that the sides are congruent. Or not congruent, but proportional. So 4 over 6 is 2/3, and 6 over 9 is 2/3. So yes, they are proportional. And I'm going to go ahead and mark them similarly to what we have here. Just to show that they are proportional. Not congruent, but proportional. Well, let's take a look at a third method. Third method is side, side, side similarity. If all three pairs of corresponding sides of two triangles are proportional, then the two triangles are similar. Again, you may remember the SSS congruency. Well, we also have SSS similarity. So, are the triangles below similar by SSS? If so, write the statement. Well, 3 over 9 is 1/3. 5 over 15 is 1/3. And 4 over 12 is 1/3. So yes, these are in fact similar. Now, order of the letters are important. In fact, I need to go back up here and do SAS. So order of the letters are important. Let's go ahead and say LMN. And so over here, it's going to be QPR. Because I went from side opposite the 120 to the square side to the circle side. Opposite 120, square side, circle side. Okay. Let's go ahead and do SS. TUS. All right, we're going to use triangle TUS, which means this is going to be WVX. Because the order is important. Let's go to the next page. So now we've got to say, if they're similar, how, and name them. Well, we don't know anything about angles, so we need to approach sides. And I need to first figure out what EF is. Well, 6 plus 6 makes this whole thing 12. So let's take a look. I've got my shortest sides are 3 over 6. Then I've got 5 over 10. And I've got 6 over 12. And all of these happen to equal 1/2. So yes, these are similar by side, side, side. And the question of how, we need to go ahead and figure out how we're going to do that. Well, first, let's pick a triangle. DEG. Okay? So DE covered my shortest side. And then EG was my longest. So I need to figure out how am I going to go from covering my shortest to my longest. Well, HF is my shortest, and FE is my longest. So HF, and then E. Another way to think about this is go ahead and mark them. Those, and those. We want to make sure we go from square to circle to triangle. I went from square to circle to triangle. Let's go ahead and talk about number 5. We want to know how these are congruent. Well, we know that this one must be congruent with that one. Okay? Because these both come off at 80-degree angles, we know that these have to be, well actually, We're going to talk about this a slightly different way. We're not going to bring up parallel lines. What I am going to bring up, though, is the fact that I have a shared angle up here. So these were the similar because they told us. This is similar because of shared angle, so yes. And how do I know that? Because of angle, angle. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and say x, y, z. So if I do x, y, z, then I need to do x, v, w. Because it's important that the order be correct. I went from 2 to none to 1. Let's go ahead and talk about number 6. Well, I'm looking at these and I'm very tempted to say that that's a right angle. But it's not marked, and so I cannot say that that is a right angle. So I'm looking at this and all I know are my sides. But knowing two sides isn't enough without knowing this third side. And if I knew that those were right angles, then I would be able to say side angle side. But I can't do that. So no, there is not enough information. Well, let's take a look at number 7. Okay, here we're looking at number 7, and they give us some numbers. And I'm looking at it and I go, well, 6 and 10, 3 and 5, which means this whole side is 9, and this whole side is 15. So I have 6 over 9, 10 over 15, which is 2/3, also 2/3. And then I have a shared angle. So yes, how do I know this? Because of side, angle, side. Okay? And let's just say JLN. So if I go JLN, that means my other one is going to be KLM. Because I went circle side to shared angle to square side. Circle side to shared angle to squared side. Make sure that your order is correct. And now for number 8. We'll take a look at number 8. We want to figure out how is this related. Well, I have vertical angles, which is awesome. And now I need to try to show up a relationship. Well, I know that 3 over 12 is not the same as 4 over 9. But I do know that 3 over 9 is 1/3. 4 over 12 is 1/3. So that means that these two are related. And those two are related. I've got 3 pieces of information. SAS. So how do I know? Well, side, angle, side matches side, angle, side. So we give these a name. PQL. The circle side comes to Q, which means the circle side needs to come here. This would be SQ. R. Have to make sure that you put these in the correct order. All right. We have 2 more examples. we want to know if these two triangles are similar, and if so, we want to figure out what the common ratio is. So ABC is 4, 5, and 7. And XYZ is 16, 20, and 28. And so we're going to go ahead and figure out what this is. Well, 4 over 16 is 1/4. 5 over 20, 1/4. And 7 over 28, 1/4. So the answer is yes. And our common ratio is that 1/4. Pretty simple. Let's go ahead and do this last one. PQR has sides of 3, 5, and 6. STU has sides of 2.5, 2, and 3. Notice I changed these around just a little bit because my smallest side needs to match up with my smallest side. So we're going to try 2 over 3. Well, that equals 2 over 3. We're going to try 2.5 over 5. Well, that equals 1/2. And 2/3 does not match up. Does not match up with 1/2. So the answer is no. I don't even need to do 3 over 6 because I know that 2/3 does not match 1/2, so this automatically fails. So, similar triangles, really not that difficult. It's similar to when we did congruent triangles, and all you've got to do is figure out what your properties are. Have a good afternoon, and good luck on your assignment.